Hi everyone, my name is Mary and welcome back to Quinn Ink. So today we're going to start sewing to section 2, parts 1 through 4 of the wing section. At the end of this video I'm going to show you how to sew together sections 1 and section 2. So that way you can start to see the picture of this. So you're going to want to gather all of your parts for section 2. This is part 1. This one is part number 2. So remember you have that yellow piece down here at the bottom. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across. So it looks like this. Okay. This is section 2. Part 3 of section 2. And this is what it looks like crocheted. So you have an idea of what it looks like and you can find your parts. And then of course the very last part is going to be part 4, where you have this little tiny black piece down here at the bottom, and then this whole yellow section, and then you have this whole black section. So kind of something like this. Remember, it'll kind of like fold inwards, so it looks like it's part of it, but you'll have to kind of pull it out like this, so that way you can see it. Okay, so then you'll have part 4 of section 2, sorry about that, and so you'll have this little black piece right here, and so it'll look something like this, where it'll fold inwards, so you kind of have to grab it and push it out like this. Okay, so this is what it'll look like. That way it'll give you an idea. So what we're going to do is we are going to sew together parts 1 and 2. Okay, so these are the sections that we're going to sew. So go ahead and grab section 2, parts 1 and 2, a needle and thread and some scissors, and let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm back and I have my needle and thread ready to go, and I have my sections 1 and 2 ready. Now remember, your section 2 has 6 yellow rows instead of 4. That'll be in section 3, I believe. Okay, so if you have both of your parts together, put your needle and thread off to the side. You're going to pinch at the very top and pinch at the very bottom, like you see how I have it right here. Turn your work like this so you can see it better, and then that way you have everything that you need and you're ready to go. Then you're going to take your needle and thread, and at the very top right here you're going to find the first stitch and the first stitch, or the last stitch of each of those rows. You're going to put your needle through like this and pull. Don't forget, you're looking for that loop section like I have right here. You're going to put your needle through the loop and pull. And make sure that this little guy right here is not going to be too much of... Okay, so we're going to start that over because I got a knot in my thread. So you're going to put your needle through the last 2 stitches of each of the rows, kind of like this one right here. And then you'll pull until you have a loop, and then you'll put your needle through that loop, and you will pull again like this to secure it. Okay? And then you will just start the sewing process, where you'll go in and out. Excuse me, I was burping, sorry about that. Just like this. And like I said before, you want to get some pins, and you want to pin this sector right down here, because this yellow sector right here and this little yellow part right here are both going to line up. So I would suggest getting some pins so that way you can keep it in line. And then I will meet you down here at the very bottom. Alrighty, so I made it down to the bottom right here. And I'm going to sew one more time. So you're going to turn your work to where you're looking at the bottom, and you're going to again look for the last 2 stitches of the row. Put your needle through, and then I'm going to, let's see here, I'm going to go over like this into both of those stitches again, and then make a loop, and then put my needle through that loop. I put my finger through this loop and pull down and then pull up. Then I put my needle back through that loop and I just quickly pull and it makes a quick knot. And then I'm going to put my needle right through. This is just what I do. Grab my scissors, cut as close to the yarn as you can without cutting the yarn, and snip. And then of course this is going to be section 2, parts 1 and part 2. Okay, so this is what it's going to start looking like. Kind of give you an idea. Okay, so that's what it's going to start looking like. And again, like I've told you before, this blue section is the outer color. This black section is going to be your border going around the wing. This is the yellow is the inside color, and this whole entire section right here is your bat wing. Alrighty, so then we're going to grab our part 3, section 2 for this side, and I will be right back. Alrighty, so I'm back, and I grabbed part 3 of section 2. This is what it looks like. This is how it's going to look. Okay. Now remember, on this side, this is the black part on section 3, and this is the part that's going to connect to section 2. Okay, so just kind of like, here, move this up a little bit so you can see what it looks like. So this is section 2, and that's going to connect to section 3 like that, back to back. Okay, so then you just pinch at the bottom and you're going to pinch at the top, and I like to move my stuff to the side like this so that way I can see it better. And then you're going to grab the part 3 and part 2, pinch them together, grab your needle and thread. And I'm sorry if it's very difficult to see, but just like before, find your last stitch on the top and the last stitch on the top for this one. Put your needle through. Wait until you see that loop right here. Put your needle through the loop and just pull. I like to make sure these are lined up like that. Okay, and then pull, and then you can just start to sew. And I go in through the back, out through the front, in through the front, and out through the back. And all I'm doing is I'm going in between the stitches, as you can see. So that way it's nice and secure. Okay. And I'm just going to sew all the way down until I get to the end. And once I'm done, I will meet you back down at the end, all the way down here. You do not have to worry about lining any colors up. This is all going to be one color. I would still use some pins so that way your section does not become, I don't know what you would call that, but sometimes what will happen is you'll have it look kind of like this when you get closer to the end. So one section is longer and the other section is shorter. So I like to pin it so they both become aligned. Okay, so then I will meet you back in just a few minutes. Alrighty, so I made it back down to the end right here. And I have one more thing I'm going to sew real quick. Okay, and then you're going to move your work until you can see the bottom of these stitches right here. And again, you're just going to go into the very last stitch. So like this one right here, and then this one right here. And then I'm going to go back through those again, just like this. Okay, and then I'm going to put my finger through that loop like this. And then I'm going to put my finger through this loop. And then I'm going to pull up and then pull down. And then I'm going to put my needle right through that loop one more time. And I'm going to tie it off. Then I'm going to put my needle right through just like this. And then I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut it closer to the yarn. And then I'm going to tie this one so that way I can use the rest of this thread to finish off the last section that we have. Okay? So then the last section that we have now is going to be, move everything off to the side, 2.4, and this is what it looks like. Okay. And so you'll move your piece again. So this is 2.3, and then this one is 2.4. And make sure that little black piece right here is connected to this bottom piece right here. And I like to turn it so I can see it better. Make sure you align the yellow piece on 2.3 to the yellow piece on 2.4, and then you pinch, grab your needle like I have right here, make sure it's not tangled in any way, shape, or form, and then you'll find the very last stitches on the top, like this one right here and this one right here. Put your needle through, pull through until you see that loop right there, pull up and connect. And then you'll just start the sewing process all over again. And again, I will meet you down at the very bottom, all the way down here. And I would get some pins and pin this section right here, so this black piece is lined up with this black piece right here. And I will meet you down shortly. Alrighty, so I'm back and I made it down here at the very bottom. And I am just going to sew this part right here. And then we're going to turn the work and we're going to look for the very last stitch. So we're going to look for this stitch, and then we're going to look for this stitch right here. This is not a stitch right here. That is where we connected the yellow. So you're just going to put your needle through both of those stitches. You're going to go right back through those stitches. I like to pinch it so I know where those stitches are. I'm going to put my finger through the loop that I'm making right here. I'm going to put my needle back through that loop right here. Put my finger through this loop, pull up and pull down, not too tight, and then I'm going to put my needle back through that loop and just pull nice and tight. And then I'm going to put my needle back through, and then I'm going to cut. Now that we're ending the end of the video, you're going to want a longer piece of thread, so this is not going to suffice for what we need. This is section 2. And as you can see, if I'll spread it out for you, there's the first, second, third, and fourth. Now what you're going to do is you're going to grab section 1. This portion is going to go on the very top, so I'm going to move this upwards, and section 1 is going to go down here, and we're going to sew those together. So I will be right back in just a few moments. Alrighty, so I'm back and I grabbed my section 1, which is this one right here, as you can see. Okay, so, and I lined it up with section 2. And I also grabbed my pins, so I'm going to put the camera down and we're going to start pinning the section. So here's my little tomato that has all my pins on it. I'm going to grab the bigger pins. Sorry, I'm going to grab these bigger ones right here. Okay. And I'm going to pinch these two sections right here together. So where this bump is and this bump is, I'm just going to pin it really quickly. There we go. And then I'm going to move over here to this bump right here and this bump right here, and I'm going to pin those sections just like that. And then that way you can also take some pins and you can pin the middle section of these. So right here I'll pin it right there. And then I'm going to move on to this section over here where you have this bump and this bump. I'm going to squeeze the two bumps together and then I'm going to pin it. And then I'll take another pin and I'll pin this middle section right here. And then I'll come to the end over here and I'll line up all the colors. So I'll line up the blue, the black, and the yellow section, and I'll put a pin right here on the very end. There we go. And then I'll put a pin right here where the black section is, going into the yellow section, so I know that those two need to be lined up nice and perfectly. So there you go, nice and lined up. That section is pinned, that section is pinned, and now we'll come over here and we'll line up the two yellow sections. As you can see, grab a pin and line up those two sections. And then I know this is the section where I'm going to start sewing. Then I'm going to grab my needle and we're going to start sewing this section. And because all of the bumps are right here, this one is also going to be a bump. So it'll be connected nicely. And I have a really long thread. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take that phone call. So we're starting down here at the bottom. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the stitch down here, the very last stitch, and the very last stitch on this one. What we're doing is we're going to sew across the top where all of these pins are to the other side. And yes, I have a very long thread, and you do want a very long thread. I didn't actually measure it, but I always do a double. So if you do, I would say 12 inches, double that to where it's another 12. So that way you have it doubled like I do. Put your needle through that hole right there, or the loop. Put your needle through the loop right here so that way you can connect it. Tighten it nice and tight. And then you can just start the sewing process. And as long as you have everything nice and pinned, you won't have to worry. Now, because this one has stitches, you can actually go in between each of the stitches, just like this, and you don't have to space it out. So you'll already see your stitches. And be very careful, go nice and slow. Your thread, as you can see, just tangles just like mine just did. So you want to be very careful. You will get lots of tangles just like mine just did. So go nice and slow. Make sure your thread is untangled as you pull it through. Just like this. Sometimes you can put your finger through it and then pull on it like this. And you're just going in between the stitches, just like this. Okay, and you're just going to pull right through. And this is how you will connect section 1 and section 2 together with all of its parts. Okay, I'm coming up on the yellow section so I can show you how to do this. So here we are on the yellow section, and as you can see all these little V stitches right here. You're going to just put your needle right underneath like you see me do right here as if you're crocheting. Put your needle under both of them and just sew. Just like that. Because that's all we're doing as you're sewing everything. And once you get to your pin right here, just like I did, you can just pull your pin out and then put it back. And as you can see, all of the stitches are in between, all of the thread is in between the stitches. And then you can pull nice and tight. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go between every little stitch like this, and then I will meet you guys back down at the other side, all the way down here to this side. Okay, so if you need to, you can use more pins or less pins. I always like pinning the bumps right here to the bumps, so I know that this section belongs with this section. So that way every section is connected to itself. So this is section 1 of part 4, and this is section 2 of part 4. So those two sections belong together. And I will pull out my camera and show you what the whole picture is starting to look like. So as you can see, there's the border sections, and they're all being connected, and there is the bat wing right here. So here's your bat wing going up. There's an open yellow section. This is the other portion of the bat wing. And when we connect section 2, which is this part up here, to section 3 in the next video, you'll get to see more of the bigger picture. Okay, so I will be back shortly. Alrighty, so I haven't made it to the bottom just yet, or the end. I'm almost there. I wanted to come back on camera and show you the bump section. So this is one bump, and this is the second bump. And I didn't want you to get confused and be like, well, what do I do once I get to the bump section? You're really not going to do anything. So I used the yellow yarn so that way you could see it better. Let me move my light. So here's the first bump right here, and then this is the second bump. So you're just going to find the stitches like this one and this one right here, and put your needle right through. And then you're just going to go over the bump to the next stitch right here. And that's all you're going to do. You don't really need to do anything special with this bump section. All you're doing is looking for the stitches on the top of your work and just trying to sew in between the stitches like this on the very top, because we have stitches there. And it looks like this one got a little tangled. There we go. Okay, so that's all you're going to do is find the stitches on the top and go in between them, and then go over to the next stitch, and then in and out until you get to the bottom. And if you're having problems with lining up your stitches, the best thing I would suggest is just pinching it with your fingers so you can align those stitches like I'm doing right here. And then just kind of moving down. And if you can't remember where you put your stitches, you can always open it up and be like, okay, so this one went with that one, so I'm going to go into this one and this one that does not have one that I sewed into. And then you'll just pull on it nice and tight and then stretch it so that way it's not too pulled on. And that's pretty much all you do. And what I would suggest doing for this black section is getting a bright light so you can actually see your stitches a lot better. So that way you can see this one and you can see this one, and you know exactly which one you're going into. kind of like my desk lamp like I have right here. I can see these stitches a lot easier because I'm able to turn the light on. It's really nice and bright. Okay, so we're making our way down to the bottom sector, and I'm almost done. And the very last 2 stitches. And when you get to this section, you can also put your needle through this stitch and this stitch right here, so you can sew those 2 together if you so please. Sorry, my allergies are acting up. So now we're finished, and now we're going to, I'm going to put my needle back through that loop. I'm going to put my finger through the loop like this. I'm going to put my needle through that loop, move my finger to make the new loop. I'm going to pull up and then pull down with this finger. And then I'm going to put my needle through there and pull to make a knot. And then I'm going to pull that through and finish it off and grab my scissors. And then I'm going to cut close to the thread. Okay, and then I'm going to use this one to sew the next portion, which will be section 3. I just finished, there we go. So that was section 1 and section 2 completely sewn together. Okay, so I'm going to move my camera and pull it out so you can see it. So there's section 1 sewed to section 2, part 2, part 3, and part 4. Okay, so that is what it will look like. You can finally put this one off to the side. In the next video, we are going to do section 3. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to sew all 4 parts together. Then we're going to finish section 4, completely crocheting it, and then I will show you how to sew that to section 3. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this has been very illuminating and you were able to understand what I was doing and how to sew all the parts together, so that way we can start making this bat wing picture and we can start finishing this blanket. Don't forget to scroll down and hit that like button so I know you're enjoying the video. And if you'd like to, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know you're enjoying the video or that you made it to the end of this video. And again, I thank everyone who has subscribed to my channel and for supporting me. I really appreciate it. I didn't actually think I was going to get this much support on such a big video such as the Batman blanket. And until next time, everybody, happy crocheting. Bye-bye.